I think ever since I started playing League and you watch Worlds and you watch LCS and everything, you kind of set milestones for yourself. Considering how close we are, I think we're definitely proud. But at the same time, I don't think anyone is going to be satisfied until we prove that we can be a top team.
My whole goal, of why I play League of Legends competitively is because I want to get to Worlds. Ever since Super Haku, I got replaced, I've just improved so much as a player, and I don't want to let it go to waste.
The fate is not in our hands, but this time the third place game means better chances for Worlds for sure.
We have to win against UL. It will mean a lot to achieve my goal, my first season.
I think it's the most important game of my life.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the European LCS. We are in Stockholm, Sweden for the last week of the summer split. We are 2 series away from crowning the summer split champion and sending 2 teams to the World Championships. I'm EpicSkillshot here with Crepo and Deficio and this fantastic audience.
You just said it, Trevor, here, Hovet Arena in Stockholm. Crowd is fantastic. They look beautiful. So do you guys. We are super hyped for this matchup.
There's a lot of people celebrating your birthday here, Deficio. Quite the birthday party.
Well, thank you.
Happy birthday, Deficio.
Thank you.
Let's hope the crowd and the teams give us some good games. The teams, of course, getting themselves ready. It will be H2K and the Unicorns of Love taking to the stage in a best-of-5. UOL backstage, getting warmed up and getting prepped.
Looking fancy with the headset. We got the fans outside as well. Obviously, Fnatic playing tomorrow in the final, but today, Unicorns and H2K, they won that 3rd place spot.
Yeah, and here's H2K coming out of the backstage area. I just want to hand it to the Swedes. Their selfie game is on point. Was outside for 20 minutes. Have never taken as many selfies in my life. So Sweden, your selfie game.
Their selfie game and their screams. The volume is fantastic. And we're going to hear a little bit more about the matchup we're all going to see as we head over to the analyst desk.
Tak, Trevor, och gott tack, Sverige. I'm EpicSkillshot's reporter here to break down today's best-of-5 with the help of James Stress O'Leary and Sweden's very own Jacob Yamato Cannon Mebby.
Good to be here. Best country in the world, Sweden.
I thought you were going to say it in Swedish.
Bästa landet i hela världen, Sverige.
There we go! Wow! The tone is set, and with just 2 days left in the summer playoffs, we're going to take a look at that bracket and see where the teams stand. No surprises, Fnatic still undefeated, making it to the final here, winning against the UOL, of course, and advancing to tomorrow's finals.
And in tomorrow's finals, they're going to have to face Origin. Origin looking to break that streak. A lot of different opinions on back and forth who's going to win that one, but certainly both teams looking pretty strong coming into the final.
But everything that's on the line here is between H2K and the Unicorns of Love for that 3rd place match, fighting for championship points, which could possibly send them to Worlds. So Fnatic is, of course, the leader when it comes to those points. But if Fnatic wins the whole thing, that means that UOL or H2K, whoever wins today, makes it to Worlds.
Yeah, very important 3rd place game if Fnatic win. If Fnatic lose, however, it will be Origin that take the 1st seed into Worlds from Europe, and Fnatic will have the most points, putting H2K and the Unicorns into the regional qualifiers, which Yamato, you're very invested in the regional qualifiers. Who do you have your eyes on for winning?
Well, obviously, from my perspective, if Origin wins the finals, that is top-notch for us because we get to face the teams that are lower seeded, basically Unicorns of Love and H2K, and that is the prime-time position I want to be in.
We have beaten OG before, so maybe.
Either way, easy sweep, you know. Yeah. Rocket at Worlds.
And either way, there is a lot on the line today. The winner here today either goes to Worlds or takes the 1st seed in the regional qualifier. So a lot of pressure on the players. And with everyone eyeing the World Championships, we want to know what you're predicting. So tweet at LOL Esports with that hashtag LCS and tell us which team do you think will win the regional qualifier, and why would that be?
Well, we know who Yamato has picked to win the regional qualifiers, but remember that all the teams that made it into the playoffs are eligible for the regional qualifiers. Except for Fnatic, they've already qualified as either the first seed by winning or the second seed on points.
In any case, a lot at stake here today and tomorrow, and be sure to stay with us as things wrap up today here in Stockholm, because later the NA team at Madison Square Garden will load into their penultimate playoff series between Team Liquid and Impulse. Madison Square Garden, all cool, but this is pretty baller as well.
I'd say it's even cooler. I mean, you know, it's the Harvard Arena. It's normally an ice rink.
Pretty cool. Well, before we take a closer look at today's matchups, let's head on stage and meet the two teams about to do battle for third place in the European LCS playoffs.
Hello, Split, we faced SK.
H2K are the #3 team in Europe.
This split is going to be more and more important because we have to win against UL.
For us, obviously the goal is going to Worlds. If we manage to beat H2K, we have very good chances of making it there.
I think it's the most important game of my life. My whole goal, of why I play League of Legends competitively, is because I want to get to Worlds.
Considering how close we are, it means a lot to try and get there.
I feel like we can make it. Our track record against Unicorns of Love has been 4-0.
I think they are a bit in a slump right now. They are not finding their old style. That was really scary.
We have to win against UL. It will mean a lot to achieve my goal, my first season.
I think we're definitely proud, but I don't think anyone is going to be satisfied until we prove that we can be a top team.
I've just improved so much as a player, and I don't want to let it go to waste.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the teams competing in our EU LCS Summer Split third place match. H2K and Unicorns of Love.
There they are, the Unicorns of Love and H2K. If it hasn't hit them yet, it will now. The nerves must be creeping in. All these people cheering for them. They have to make it happen today.
Yeah, the nerves absolutely must be setting in, but both of these teams joined us in Madrid for the spring finals and third place game. The difference here is the crowd is split between both of these teams. Coming into it today, the chants were for both teams. Nobody has a home team advantage.
I am so hyped. If I was topless right now, you would see my goosebumps.
Well, yeah, we're not going to let that linger at all, but definitely it will also be who can deal with that pressure the most, and realizing it might be for Worlds qualification, we have to win here. Who would you give it to in a situation like that?
Oh, it's a tough one. This is such a close match. I think when you look at it, H2K, they've been looking maybe a little bit shaky when it comes to it, but I think H2K perhaps can pull it out. It's such a close match, though.
I feel like H2K is the favorite on paper, but Unicorns of Love had the strength about and the mental fortitude they always show in games. I think it could go either way.
Yeah, you definitely know about that mental fortitude when it comes to those games. Definitely Unicorns of Love, when it comes to best of fives, they seem to have some kind of magic, and that magic is what you need here.
Well, we'll see if they've got any magic, because the magic did not work against Fnatic for them. When they brought out a little bit of magic, didn't seem to go so well. We'll see what they got in store for us today.
Well, you're Swedish, and you're here also very close to where you were born, I believe, as well, or in your hometown. And then what will that do to Vardags and Hjarnan there on the stage? How much does the pressure get amplified?
I think they will play better. I think they will show their top performance of all time because of the supporters in here. I'm pretty sure.
Well, we will see what happens as the teams set up and make their final adjustments for Game 1. Let's run down those rosters for H2K, who are starting on the blue side of the Rift. Odoamne, Lulex, Ryu, Hjarnan, Kasing, and their coach, Prali. And then on the red side of the stage for the Unicorns of Love, we have Vizichachi, Horo, Power of Evil, Vardax, Hilisan, and Sheepy. No hometown advantage. There's a little bit of a discrepancy here in the loudness of the crowd. We'll see what happens. But when we were just talking about the both teams, is it fair to say that they haven't been playing at their peak recently?
I think it's certainly fair to say H2K haven't. We've seen them be very consistent in the past. Recent weeks against Origin, they looked like they struggled. Had one good game against Origin, but apart from that, H2K are looking a bit of a shadow of themselves. However, they've had time to come into this. How will they now resettle themselves for this matchup against the Unicorns?
For sure, I would agree on H2K, but on Unicorns of Love side, I feel like the addition of Horo has made them stronger than they've ever been before. Simply because like they played this crazy chaotic strategy, and I feel Horo brings in the consistency they lack.
And I think when it comes to consistency, there's been a consistent problem with the Unicorns and a consistent benefit for H2K. When you look at both teams at 20 minutes, H2K is a team that like to get the lead at 20 minutes and win because they have these very mid-game focused teams. They like to engage and team fight. On the other side, Unicorns, they've been picking a lot more scaling teams and they end up falling behind and then losing. To put it in perspective, H2K, when it comes to that 20-minute mark, 13-2 in games when ahead at 20 minutes, wins and losses. Unicorns 4-12 when behind at 20, and when it comes to scaling, I think the worst we've seen it was against Fnatic just last week, averaged 4,700 gold down in those 3 losses against Fnatic.
That's rough.
That is very, very rough to see. There's some action from H2K. A big thing in this one is the jungle matchup. Of course, you touched on Horo already. First is Lulex in that jungle. Betongjokke is also here, but Lulex will be starting for game 1. And, well, we think that it might be that factor that Horo brings to the Unicorns of Love that can give them that in.
For sure, Horo is the way for them to win. Like if I picture myself Unicorns of Love winning, it's because of Horo. Simply because Lulex in 5.14, I think he's been lacking because he hasn't picked up Elise, hasn't picked up Nidalee, and Horo proved in the game against Rokat, against us, I guess. He showed that he can carry games.
And you've certainly seen the impact that Horo has had in the early game. We saw 91% kill participation pre-15 minutes in the last couple of series. Another interesting thing that Horo has brought to the game with Unicorns that we saw in Fnatic a little bit is he's starting to improve the warding of the Unicorns of Love. Watch out during this series for any chances where Unicorns can ward deeper into the enemy jungle. It didn't pay off against Fnatic, but it's certainly a massive improvement for the Unicorns.
For sure, for sure.
And you were mentioning the champion pools, of course, already. It was a big question mark coming into the playoffs for H2K as well, and not that much has changed.
Yeah, for sure. If you take a look at H2K's like Lulex champion pool, we have champions that have been nerfed. Gragas has been hit with a nerf. Graxa has been hit with a nerf, and then Elise has been hit with a massive buff. You have to pick this champion up. And with that in mind, I feel like the edge obviously goes to Unicorns of Love in the jungle matchup.
We will see. It might be hit or miss for Lulex. Someone who has stayed incredibly consistent across the board for H2K is Ryu. And in this matchup, it is so important because Power of Evil is on the other side. And honestly, what we've seen from his champion pool recently causes concern.
Yeah, to me, it's even becoming problematic to the point where Unicorns have to seriously look at this. Power of Evil in Spring Split, the beginning of summer, was this player, that had this wealth of talent. He was bringing Varus to the dance. Just all of these massive different pool of champions. And now he's kind of gone to Orianna. We saw the Ezreal when it's not being played as a meta pick, the Kayle when it's not meta pick either. And the problem is he's hamstringing the rest of his team, picking these scaling mid-game champions from, scaling late-game mid-champions. And it just is not paying off for the team. It's difficult to play around.
For sure. And I feel like the biggest issue that I see for Unicorns of Love, they had this issue 1 week ago. And usually when you lose a match in a bracket system, you have to go into repair mode. What went wrong? And I feel solving an issue like this, it is massive. It doesn't take 1 week. That's why I'm slightly worried for Unicorns of Love coming into this.
Unless it was the super long con and he has something up his sleeve and we'll all see about it. But with all this mid and the jungle, what is going to tip it in the edge of H2K or UOL in general?
I feel the biggest factor must be the bot lane. We've seen Cassin carry games on that Thresh, but the thing that is worrying for me, we have these champions, Sivir, obviously both Yarnan and Vardax like to play Sivir, and then we take a look at the rest of Vardax's champion pool. Doesn't do too well, Adna Kalista, the Lucian as well, the Jing 0-3, and this is very worrying because I feel H2K can go in with the same strategy Fnatic had in their best of 5.
I think there is one big difference between the ability for Fnatic and H2K and picks and bans is they now have to fear the Elise. Just because they'll be able to first pick Sivir, if it happens in game 1 and they leave Elise up, Haro on Elise could be a major factor for the Unicorns when it comes to setting them up for an early game, which they then get to that later game stage where Power Evil is a monster. That is one area that the Unicorns may have in their favor coming out of picks and bans.
Well, a lot to theorize. We will have to see what happens. And now for a word with the coaches behind these two squads, we're going to step on stage with